to schedule this time to talk to each other. And because, like I was telling you before, I tried to. I'm happy we're here, but there are times when scheduling gets kind of tight, and even though I try not to do that, there are times when I just want, like, I don't want to have to reschedule because that could take a while. Like there've been times where I had people on and there was a rather truncated edition of the podcast. It might have been like 40, 45 minutes. And though I enjoyed the conversations, they were good. I felt like they could have been more.
Right.
In terms of length and content.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're all people, we're busy, and like at one point or another they have things to do, have to leave. Yeah.
Well, for me, I have I get restless very quickly. So
yeah.
I try not to have myself involved in things that are too prolonged. As well as I have a proposal to write. So
right, yeah.
you know how that goes.
Yeah.
So
and like I remember there was one early on, there was a professor of mine from my community college where we went through a whole lot of back and forth of scheduling to do the podcast, and then we finally landed on a date. And then when he finally did it, he was only able to be there for like 45 minutes. And so that particular conversation turned out good. It was like us really going back and forth. He's a photographer. I was asking him about his life as a photographer and doing all that stuff. But it was fun in the moment, but it still felt rushed, like we were trying to, you know.
Right. Well, I'm not rushing you today. So you can relax.
I hope so. Because I had to... I always want to be able to squeeze as much as I can out of the conversation, or out of the time, of the window of time I have. Right. And so, like, before I got here, I was like, I had a class with Julie, and I was telling her I might have to like leave just a bit before 4:00 so I could run down here, get set up, and be ready for you, and like not have you come here and me still be like setting up the equipment, you know.
Oh yeah, that's fine. It's okay.
And then of course I have that class at 5:30, and so it's gonna. I mean, then again, that's not too bad. I can pack things up rather quickly.
Well, if you're done by 5:10, you still have a lot of time.
Yeah, and you know, it's just Hillier. This the third level of Hillier, so it's not that far of a walk. You know,
that's cool. So how was your day been?
I always they're always rather say difficult when I like expect to podcast someone during the day,
right?
Because I have to like bring my bag, a very heavy bag, and I also carry lots of other things that are not this, just for class, like my backpack, the bag that has my computer, my lunch, and also a guitar if I have a guitar class that day.
Right.
And so I sometimes have to make compromises. Like, I don't want to have to carry all of these things. So, like, do I leave a thing in my car? But then it's like, I had to gauge, like, is it hot? Is it cold? Is it, I mean, this particular today, it's not bad. Not too, it's like in the late 30s, maybe hitting about 40 right now. And so it's not that bad, but I still have like some reservations about I left my guitar in my car after I came back from this other class.
Right. So how far away did you park? Did you park in what I call purgatory, which is all the way down in the back?
I usually park in B lot.
Okay.
Right where like the walkway to walk towards Auerbach.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah. But then like there are times when it just makes sense for me to say carry all the things with me, because it's like I go here and then this building's right next to like the music building, so I just might as well just carry my guitar to this place and then walk a bit more just to the music building for like a guitar class, you know what I mean? And so like knock things off one by one, walking in a straight line from like this place to this place.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could. Did you leave at least your mic equipment in your car and Was that?
No, I was carrying this around all day.
Oh Lord.
Although I actually, when I was going to class with Julie, right before I left the bag in here in this conference room.
That would make sense.
But of course, since I don't have a key to the conference room, and I wanted to make sure, I didn't want to have to find someone to open it for me. That means I have to leave it open. And so I had to find a way to sneakily like hide the bag in here and turn the lights off. So just to make sure like no one can, if you're, well, first of all, no one else is scheduled to be in here today. Right. So I felt like, okay, that I should be fine then. But then I had to, again, find a way to hide it somewhere so that anyone who's not, who may waltz in here to do like something, a quick thing, doesn't happen to see it.
Oh. Well, you made it. It's safe. So in terms of your classes and you having a good semester so far, how is that going?
It's going okay, I think. Although it feels a bit weird. This semester feels a bit out of place, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
Like what are you doing? What's going on with you?
Oh, well, this is my final semester, right? So I graduate in May.
Yeah.
So I think what has thrown me off is that I did a bit of research over winter break. So I traveled to Miami. I traveled to Trinidad. I'm researching the enslaved women of Trinidad and Tobago. And so being able to wear the researcher's hat for a few weeks was intoxicating.
Right.
Right. And so I have to come back and I'm like, okay, just be a student again.
Yeah.
So it's, you kind of feel, at least I feel torn by having tasted something so extraordinary.
Yeah.
But still working on this end of it where I am trying to make sense of what I found and trying to make the women live, off from obscurity, out of obscurity is interesting for me to be able to do that. But having to settle back as a student and just finish things feels weird.
It feels, would you say tedious?
Not so much tedious. No, it's just, you sometimes like, oh gosh, I lost my focus. What was
I? Yeah.
You just feel out of focus.
Like you spend a period of time not being an academic, not doing academic work.
Right.
And then you just kind of fall out of it. And then when you're back in, it's like, oh, I have to like think now. I have to think again.
Well, that's the interesting thing. I think because when I spent time, I think I spent 2 weeks at the National Archives in Trinidad and Tobago, but I was there from 8 a.m. in the morning until 4, literally. It was a full day of work.
Yeah.
But it was not that I wasn't thinking. It was tough.
Yeah.
But it's just because I would love to pursue that more.
Yeah.
To have to do less of my research and less,
Yeah, because when you're off in an exotic place, it feels like a vacation. But then you have to remember, wait, I'm here for like actual like work reasons to do things.
Well, because I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, I guess. For me, it's not exotic, but
it's not where you're usually living.
Not where I'm usually living, right? And people think they hear West Indies and like, oh my God, it's hot, and I think they think of, just like the heat.
It's kind of tropical-ish.
It's tropical-ish.
You're going to be on the beach,
right?
Tanning, eating, drinking stuff out of coconuts. But then, no, I'm actually here to I have research. I'm doing research.
Yeah. All I saw was the inside of the archives. I did not even make it to the beach. So it was not exotic.
Were the archives at least near the beach?
No. I saw the beach on my way there. Yeah. Not the beach so much, just the sea. That's the sea wall.
Yeah.
We have that demarcation. So the beach areas, no, I didn't see. But I did see the ocean.
Okay.
If that makes you feel better.
Now, this research is for what? Are you Is it part of, like, say, your bachelor's thesis? Is that?
It is for an independent research that I'm doing with Dr. Sinch as well. It's linked to the Dorothy Goodwin Scholarship. I received a grant that allowed me to travel so that I could do the research.
Oh, right. Okay.
So it is intended to be my dissertation as soon as I get to grad school.
Oh, okay. You're like prepping.
Yeah.
You're prepping a master's thesis before you even enter graduate school.
Right. Yes. I'm laying the groundwork.
Okay. That's cool.
You know, so I'm probably very, is it single-minded? Yeah. Probably.
You mean like you have a one-track mind? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I'm kind of determined to get this done.
Yeah, you're really focused on
on
the task at hand.
Yes, I am, because it is the research for me was motivated by the killings of women in Trinidad and Tobago by their mates, their partners.
Right.
I would love for the research to shed some light on the contributions that the women have made,
right?
And how they helped to build Trinidad and Tobago. And it's interesting to see so much of their character come off the pages of history.
Yeah.
To see their names, just their names alone, it feels like it's an amazing experience for me.
Cool. And if I recall correctly, your major for your bachelor's is English with a concentration in creative writing, right?
Literature, actually.
Oh, really? I thought I could have sworn you were at some point creative writing.
It was supposed to be creative writing, and then
you drifted into the literature.
Yes, I fell in love with literature more than the writing aspect,
right? Because
I figure you write so much anyway as a literature major that it should cover it. I mean, I'm not going to go into fiction, but I do want to write my research papers and that sort of thing. I absolutely love researching.
Really?
Yes. Don't you? You look at me like, oh.
Well, I mean, I suppose on some level I enjoy research, but probably not in the academic sense.
Okay.
Because I've written research papers in the past, but they felt it was just like things I don't want to write about, and it feels real boring, and the actual research feels tedious.
Right.
And so I was like, no, I don't like doing it, which is weird because I'm not even majoring in creative writing.
Right.
And in a sense, I'm not even majoring in the literature concentration because I'm in secondary education. Although based on the requirements, it is basically like a literature concentration.
Right. So for me, let me see. I love research because it just, you learn so much, I guess. Otherwise you just skim the surface. For me, what excites me is reading a bibliography. I know, I'm sorry, yes. I know, right? Because you can go down a million rabbit holes from this, just a bibliography. You can go crazy. It's so exciting for me. It's like, okay, so I'll check this source and I'll check that source, so it opens so many doors for me.
Yeah, I enjoy research when I'm majoring in film, and I really like reading about important movies of the past, and what they mean, how they influence, subsequent films, and that's really enjoyable for me, especially in terms of art, like say films or music and stuff like that. How culture and artistic zeitgeists exist within a timeline,
right?
How it all connects. That's cool for me. But then, if I like analyzing that, but not say particularly at least in terms of literature, like reading the works that are presented in
Okay.
in the web, in the timeline. You know what I mean?
Well, that's where I would get lost. I love the little in between things. I like figuring how things work, how things have come together. And I suppose that's why I especially love researching the enslaved women of Trinidad, because as a Black woman, a Black West Indian woman, and belonging in the diaspora, what has shaped me? So I have a lot of questions. I'm not necessarily looking to find my ancestors or anything like that, but I do want to know what has contributed to my society being as it is, my birthplace, I would say, Trinidad. And so what has shaped us? What has shaped us as women? Who have we been? And as we move forward,
Right.
Who can we continue to be evolving to be? What are we going to become? And how can we shape ourselves? I'm interested in not being shaped anymore. I would like to shape my own self, my own future.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting that would you say it's a coincidence that you're interested in this history in Trinidad and Tobago because you're from there? Or would you think you would be interested in it anyway, even if you weren't from there?
I think I would have been interested in it anyway.
Okay.
Because I like I said, I love history.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go back in time. As a child, I would try to imagine who or what I would have been in the past.
Right.
And so I've always wanted to go back. So researching the enslaved women gives me an opportunity to do that. Whether or not I would have done it if I were not Trinidadian, I think I still would have, because so little is known of Trinidadian enslaved women. So I would have still gone after that history.
Really? Because I have like a complicated relationship or lack thereof with, say, my background,
which is
with Asian, particularly Vietnamese.
Right.
And the thing is, I wouldn't say I'm very connected to my Vietnamese nationality or what it means to be Asian. Most of the time, I don't even remember that I am. You know what I mean?
Same here. I forget I'm Black until somebody reminds me. Like, I'm thinking, well, I'm just walking along. I'm having a good day. I'm just being me.
Yeah.
Being fabulously Trinidadian or something,
Yeah.
or just hilariously crazy as I am. And then, you're like, oh, you're Black. I'm like,
crap,
that's right. I forgot. Thanks for reminding me. I'm different. It's so funny.
Yeah, because in my case, it's I wouldn't say I'm very, aside from the hue of my skin, my aptitude for math, and like having poor vision, there isn't really much of me, much of my personality that points to being Asian. You know what I mean? So most of the time I don't think about it. I'm just like, man, I'm not Asian. I'm me.
Well, this is what I'm trying to figure out. So if you're saying much of your personality doesn't point towards being Asian, is it that it doesn't point towards the stereotypes of being Asian? Because what is the personality of an Asian?
Well, I think at least the stereotype is at least portrayed in like most media is like nerdy, quiet, asexual kind of, or like from the John Hughes movie or something. And so there are parts of me that do point to maybe some stereotypes. Like I said, having poor vision, I'm pretty good at math, and being kind of a nerd. Although I think the nerd bit comes before the Asian bit.
I think so. I think that's kind of general. Because I'm thinking I'm a little bit nerdy, but then wait a minute. My grandfather was half Chinese.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's my poor eyesight and my slightly nerdiness. Maybe that's it.
When there are times when I feel like I'm not sure whether the being Asian bit is it a part of my identity? Should it be? Does it help? Does it hurt it?
Interesting. But I think your culture. I don't know. I like culture. Like rather than people's being black or white or Asian, it's just like people.
Right.
So I would be interested in you as Benson rather than an Asian version of Benson.
Right. And that's how I try to look at it. Like I'm me first.
Yeah, and you should be. I think that's how I look at life. And I remember there's one class that I have that is particularly troublesome for me this last 2 semesters, because in it deals with a lot of labels and
for labels for what?
Sexuality.
Oh, right.
This class is very disturbing for me. So I've always resisted labels. I especially resist them. I realize that coming here, moving to America, people are labeled a lot.
Yeah.
And so I think, as I'm often reminded that I'm a black immigrant, I think those 2 labels are good. I don't need any more. And so I'm not going to like buy into the labeling game.
Yeah. I think the use of labeling people a certain way it's not exactly particular to the United States. I think it's just the way people need to be able to categorize things and have a clear idea about what each thing is, and so they can feel comfortable. Like there are no unknown unknowns or something. So it's like, put this in a neat box. That's what that is. I know what that means.
Yeah, but I don't like boxes, especially if it's not my box. And then because
get out of my box,
right? I'm thinking, because if you didn't bring up the topic about, like, didn't differentiate yourself as being Asian, it would not be something that I would think about.
Right.
In my interaction with you.
Yeah, and so first you would think that's Benson.
That's Benson.
And then 3 seconds later you would think, oh wait, yeah, that's right, he's Asian.
No, why would I think that? Unless you were trying to kill me and I'm calling 911. I'm like, he's Asian. He's about 5, whatever.
8.
5'8", right? He's wearing a white t-shirt. But other than that, you're just Benson.
Yeah.
Why would you be anything else?
Yeah, there's so I try to define myself by say the things I do, not necessarily the things I am, if that makes any sense. Like, say, I like to call myself a filmmaker, musician,
right,
whatever, and that's because that's what's important to me. My nationality, my ethnicity is not important to me, so it's not really a thing I put up front.
Right.
I mention up front, even though you can clearly see that I'm Asian.
Right.
Which means, like, I don't need to mention it if you can see with your eyes.
Yeah, if it's important to you, you'll see it, right?
Yeah.
If not, then
although
I'm not going to see
not for blind
that.
people, though. I appreciate you blind people. You may not immediately know that I'm Asian.
Maybe they wouldn't care either.
Yeah.
You know.
You don't see race, literally.
Benson. It's insensitive.
What are you talking about? That wasn't offensive. No.
Yes. But anywho. Okay. So, but no, it's not important. It should not be important what someone looks like. You know, their ethnicity, their race, whatever you want to call it. It's not important. For me, what's important is who you are to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course.
And I define myself by who I am, I guess. And not necessarily by the things that I do. Because I can always lose those things. But I can't.
You mean like stop doing them?
Yeah, you can stop doing them. But who
yeah.
are you without those things? Whatever it is. That's what's important to me.
Well, I mean, then I would be like bored and just.
But would you be like a bitchy bored, or you like?
I mean, like, well, there are different ways to think about this. Like, say, you could say like the most important thing to me is music. and so I would never stop playing music of my own volition. You know, I would never stop because I love it too much. But say if I went deaf, or lost a limb and like couldn't play instruments.
So who would you be without music?
The thing is, I can't think about it. Like I honestly don't have the frame of reference.
So at your very core then,
like I wouldn't.
Who would you be? Who are you?
I wouldn't know.
So does music keep you in a good mood? So without music, are you going to be just like grumpy or do you have that balance without music is what I'm kind of getting at. You know how some people is what they do, like you said, is what makes them, it kind of creates their personality.
Yeah.
So I think the things you do should build on your personality.
Yeah. My love for music, the idea of music is so ingrained into my being. I've loved it too much for too long. And so it's like, I honestly do not know what I would be. I mean, I would probably still be like interested in films and say podcasting.
Yeah.
But music is such a large cut of the pie that is me that I honestly don't know what would be filling that if I didn't have music.
Right. I think that's interesting.
How do you mean?
Well, in the sense that I was just listening to another program that I listened to. It's called Impact Theory on YouTube.
Okay.
And so he was interviewing this young man who he was injured in an accident, and he would potentially have been confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life.
Right.
Of course, he had a promising life before the accident, and he was about to lose everything. And he told his father that he realized he couldn't change his prognosis, but that was not going to change who he was at his core. He would be the happiest wheelchair-bound person that you've ever met.
Yeah.
Because that's who he was, even without the other things that he would have lost. You know, so even if he had everything in life or he didn't have it, he would still be that happy person that his family knew.
Yeah.
So I think that's my goal in life, that regardless what I have or of what I have or don't have, that this person should be who, like Benson, I don't know. We barely know each other, but I should be what the person you've come to know.
Right.
With or without any other trappings.
I think so. The way, if I'm defining myself by the things I do, the reason I do music is because I love it. It makes me happy. But then I guess if you took away everything that I do, I think I would just be a guy who likes to make people laugh.
Right.
Like that's most of my personality. If you listen to this show, a lot of it is just me cracking jokes and stuff. And because it's fun to be talking to someone, crack jokes, make them laugh. And because at least for this podcast, the format it is just two people talking to each other. I always go back to the bread and butter is talking to a friend of mine, and we're having a fun conversation and we laugh sometimes. I think that's the core of it. Right.
Well, in this sense, we could be just getting to know each other because we've been in classes together before, but to say we formed a friendship would not be accurate. We've sat in the same room occasionally together. You know?
Hear that, people? We're not friends currently. We're currently not
We're
friends.
getting to know each other. We've passed each other in the hallway. So, at least, At least from my view of friendship.
But-
I'm not sure what yours is.
Well, I hope by the end we're friends.
Yeah.
By the end of this, we're friends.
Of course. No, I know. No, I think it's the longest conversation we've ever had, Benson.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah, of
now I think you know me and,
Or at least some of you.
some of me.
I feel like, like one conversation is, I would say, not enough unless we were actively asking each other questions about everything.
Right.
And I feel like it would have to be several of us actually talking to each other in order to fully,
find that common ground of, I think we understand each other. We have certain things in common or, whatever friendships are based on. So,
yeah.
I don't know. But this is good.
Would you say so?
It's a good start. Yes. It's a good start. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you this. I've had people on in the past couple of months. I've been trying to get people on who I don't know very well, or even people I've literally never met before.
Right.
To try to break out of my comfort zone. Like this show doesn't have to be just me talking to my good friends about whatever.
Yeah.
It could be me talking to interesting people who are just I haven't met yet.
Yeah, and I
think not because I haven't met them before. I just haven't met them yet. If you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. And I think for me, even doing this, like having to sit down with you to do this was me being out of my comfort zone. Right? Because, I prefer to just, just be kind of in the shadows and just.
Yeah. And even, I think in leading up to this, you kept asking me what you could expect me to say to you.
Yes.
And I kind of felt ambivalent about it because I want the show to be just people talking to each other. And so you say you need structure, but then I tell you this thing doesn't really have a structure. And then you get a bit, you tense up a bit like, but I
yeah, because for me, I do need structure because I dislike the feeling of
like free falling
or riding, just going along, being taken along.
Yeah.
I have to at least have an idea of what is expected of me. What's your format, that kind of thing.
Well, I'll tell you the format is just me talking to someone.
Well, Benson, it's kind of late. Here I am in the chair already. I mean, what? For how much minutes in already, Benson? And I'm breaking your microphone. So it's too late. It's a done deal, okay?
What if everything was just in the middle of it? I'm going to tell you what this is.
No,
but would you say, were you nervous going into this? Because I kept telling you like, no, it's just us talking to each other. There's no quote unquote structure.
Nervous, no. Because I know there's a door right there. I can just get out. it's not live.
Just walk out.
I can just walk out, drop my mic and be out, right? But no, like I said, this exercise was for me to, just live outside the box, just to try different things and have different experiences.
Yeah.
And to not be, I guess, so structured.
Like uptight, or
I wouldn't quite say uptight.
Or not exact, but like I don't want to say high strung either. It's just like you want to know where you're getting into.
Yeah, I like to know where I'm going. I like to know what I'm doing, and so I don't like meandering. I don't like wasting time. I don't like window shopping. None of those things.
Yeah.
Right? You get something done. You know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, on some level, I'm like that too. But for particular things, you could say. But then for the most part, like, I try not to spend too much time thinking about the future or the past. I like to try to be present, if you know what I mean. That's part of why I started doing this, to just talk to people and be present for the conversation, and hopefully they're present too. And then we could just say things that are really interesting to each other.
That's an interesting concept. So maybe it's because I spend most of my time in books or with my family.
Right.
So yeah, but again, that's why I did this. Because I did want to see what it was like to just do things your way and be like, oh, well, we'll see what we talk about,
Yeah, that's why I try to tell people, well, like when I'm trying to get people on, they ask me, oh, what's it about? And I'm like, well, it's called The Podcast with Benson Ty. That's I usually tell them, like, that's the amount of context that there is. It's just like, what do you usually talk about? Oh, nothing.
See, nothing. Like an hour of nothing, Benson would drive me crazy, so.
Yeah, but this isn't nothing though,
No, it wasn't. Let's just say that for now.
Because I like to see where it goes. I like to not know what's gonna happen. I like to and because like I listen back to this to like edit it and stuff. It's fun to see where the through line that permeates the recording, our conversation, like how we jump to this and then jump to this, but it's not like haphazard. There's the conversation, it flows. There is a line you can draw through the whole thing.
Well, as soon as you find that line where you help me, no. But no, I think I like to draw my line ahead of time.
All right.
maybe that's
you like to
different.
have an itinerary mapped out.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not that like you would say, was it uptight?
Yeah.
It's not that, but I just like to be purposeful with my time because I've always been aware of how limited time is.
Yeah.
So I try to use it as best as I can.
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
Not to be morbid or anything, but I've always been aware of my mortality. Ever since I was a child, I've always been.
Well, I wasn't hoping to get to this until 4 minutes from now, but
4 minutes from now, it wasn't the agenda.
Yeah.
See, but how important it is to have an agenda, right? But yeah, so I just try my best to use time wisely.
Yeah, because. I mean, who knows? You could walk out this door after we're done. You get hit by, I don't know.
Exactly. A pie or something.
And then die from because do you have any allergies?
Dairy. And gluten. So it's going to be.
Well, this pie is full of gluten.
Exactly. Or murdered by pie. No, yeah. So, yeah, that's it. Just, that was my one...
reservation about doing this?
Yeah. But then right now my life is about saying yes
to
strange, new and exciting things, Benson. So you've made the list of new things. The podcast with Benson. Check.
Did you at least like listen to a few episodes to get a vibe before you came on?
I did, yes.
Who'd you listen to?
I listened, it was Dr. Sinch.
Right.
And then I think it was Dr. Walling. I got to Dr. Cox. And I think
he's not quite doctor yet.
Listen, he's Dr. Cox to me. So he's on his way. That's good enough.
He is on his way.
Yeah, don't leave him alone. Don't take him down.
By the time this goes up, he'll probably be doctor.
It doesn't matter. That's how I view him.
Hello, Dr. Cox, if you're listening.
So, and I think I started on Dr. Blackwell so far.
Right.
And I think Chuck.
Right. And did that give you a good sense of what you were walking into?
Yes. And if I were the type of person to have anxiety, I would have had some anxious moments, but I'm not.
Okay. So, because of the format of the show, you're not supposed to know where it goes, but did you predict where it would go based on like what you heard?
No, because how could I? Each person would be an individual, so it would go based on that individual.
Yeah, but the thing is, you know yourself better than anyone else.
True.
So like you could at least predict on what things you would bring up. like what you would want to talk about.
Yeah.
And
but I'm not coming to the table with my agenda.
Yeah.
This isn't the podcast with Listra.
Well, this is a podcast with Listra.
Yes. More to come.
No, because you know how you work, how you think. And then I suppose based on your limited knowledge of me and at least what you heard through the podcast with different guests, did you have any inkling about how you think it would go?
Not like I said, not really, because I mean this is your podcast.
Yeah.
So
this is true.
Yeah, so I just said I would be open to a discussion.
Right.
And it's like you're on the bus and you sit down, you're next to someone you've never met before, and you're in a conversation with them.
Yeah.
And, either it's good or it's not.
Yeah. Although I suppose in that kind of scenario, it's like small talk just to be friendly for 10 minutes until you get off the bus.
Well, you know what?
Or-
I've had some amazing conversations with some amazing people. I've spoken. I love hearing life stories.
Okay.
And so maybe I attract people who want to tell me their life stories.
Right.
So I have had 4-hour flights with people who have told me their life stories. I have sat on the side of the road in Trinidad and listened to these life stories of homeless people. So I've had long rides on the bus and listened to life stories. And so it's always a fascination for me. And I absolutely love those stories, and I always keep them with me. And I write sometimes poems. I always promise myself I would write a poem based on that person's life and the story they shared with me, to just immortalize them, so that they live forever.
Yeah. I'm not exactly. I mean, on some episodes of the podcast, I am trying to get deep within someone's person. And ask them about their life, why they do what they do, and all that. But this is kind of like what those conversations you have with those people, just on the bus or something. They do kind of get deepish. You find out about them as a person, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do with the show.
I hope so.
It could, yeah. And I mean, sometimes it's just, even if it's an entire hour with a friend of mine and we're just trying to make each other laugh, that's still, an endearing display of who they are, who I am, and who we are together interacting.
Right. Well, I think my Trinidadian personality is just we're very funny to begin with, and we like stories. So all of those things coupled together. I'm not necessarily a comedian, but I like making people happy, making people laugh. But still, I'm always more interested in the life story. I'm always more interested in what makes Benson Benson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I like it. I would like, if I were to say telling people my story, I like it to be equal parts the story and jokes.
Yeah, okay, you can do that, but I would just sift your jokes out. Because I find that people use jokes as distractions to hide who they are, and so I'd be interested in who you are, not necessarily your.
Well, I would say, at least the way I work, the jokes are part of who I am. The way, my perspective on a particular thing, the fact that I would joke about this thing. Whatever this particular thing I say is that's his perspective on that. He likes to make light of that, or that's the way his mind works. That the thought he had about that, it happens to be funny, but also happens to be great insight.
Right. Yeah. I'm listening for the insight. I'm listening not so much for the joke.
Okay.
So I'm okay. So what motivates you to find it funny? What about you? What about your background, your culture? What about what makes Benson tick? So I would be not so much listening to your jokes as to just getting a better sense.
Well, there's a lot of them. Yeah.
Of what's going on with Benson.
Click.
Oh, this would be a good show. Benson, what's going on? Tell me.
Benson, what's wrong? That's
wrong,
That's the other podcast I'm doing. Benson, what's wrong?
Yes, tell me about it, Benson.
It'll just be me taping conversations with a therapist.
Yes, that will be interesting.
And then he'll be like, Benson, what's wrong today?
What happened today, Benson? But no, and so this is, to me, the underside of the joke
Yeah.
is where the story is for me.
Right, okay.
You know? Yeah, I'm not so much of a comedy lover.
Right. Right.
Sorry.
So I think you have to get going by now, right? It's 5:05 right
Are
now.
you chasing me?
No, I mean like I just
I'm joking.
I just want to make sure you don't end up late for the thing.
No, I'm
or-
just going to go write my papers, so
Oh,
that's
okay.
fine.
So you don't mind like a few more minutes?
No, that's
Because
fine.
it's well, now that I've stopped the conversation dead in its tracks because I thought you had to go.
No, that's good. I did, but what I'm saying is, I have to be. It's like it's okay.
All right.
It's good.
Because well, we could end it on what have we learned today?
What have we learned?
What are you going to
Benson?
take away from this incredible experience being on the podcast with Benson Tai?
That's an interesting question, Benson. And what I would say is that there are many layers to Benson. I should have my own podcast, and I would find out more about Benson.
Well, so it's just a podcast with us
Yes.
talking to each other.
Yeah, of course. I'll be like, Benson, what's behind those jokes? What's your pain, Benson?
What's my pain?
So, you see, I'm fishing for stories here. I have poems to write, Benson. So come on. Give it up.
Benson, what's your pain?
Yeah. What hurts, Benson?
That's an interesting way to just open up a conversation with someone, like just point blank, hey, what's your pain?
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. People are interested in Benson, so it's always an adventure to hear more about them.
Yeah.
For me anyway.
So I don't know, maybe what would you be interested in coming back on later?
Later when?
Like, I don't know, sometime in the future.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. Then you'll walk in, just start, hey Benson, what's your pain?
Of course. No, you've said it. That means it's done. Check. So we know one direction that this will go in.
Wait, what did I say?
Benson, what's your pain? So you're going to tell me what your pain is. You're going to tell me.
Well, I haven't actually told you yet. So
what has made Benson Benson? That's the question.
Yeah, I think. Well, if you listen more to the show, I think you might find out.
Okay. I'll see how that works.
Or maybe just scratch the surface because I'm just trying to be funny most of the time.
Right.
So you're
Exactly.
deflecting, and you don't.
Yeah. So the question is why? You're speechless?
I would also like to know because.
See? Okay, so next podcast is mine. Podcast with Listra, right?
Yeah.
Good. I'll be the boss.
Well, dude, I like hearing people say, "I'm going to start a podcast," but then, well, there's a lot of work to it. That like a lot of people who come on, like they just have to show up. They're the guest. Like they don't realize like I've come here, set up the equipment, break it down, go back, like edit and mix it, and like, do you think? I mean, would you say you're particularly busy now?
No more than usual. No, I don't think so.
Because if you do end up seriously pursuing like starting a podcast, it does take there is lots of time and effort that has to be committed to it.
Yeah, no, I'm not
if you'd
doing
like
that
to.
anywhere in the future.
Yeah.
Near future, maybe
Right.
later, and by then you'll be sound engineer or something, and you'll come and get my studio set up.
What are you saying? If you do end up doing this, you'll hire me as your producer?
Of course. Isn't that how it works? I'm seeing great things for you, Benson.
Guys, we have on record. I have an in with Listra.
Of course you do.
She will totally throw me a gig to produce her soon, not soon, but like
soon.
In the not too distant future, a podcast she'll be doing. She'll hire me as producer.
You will also be first guest. So get ready.
All right. Well, I guess we can stop here. Mm-hmm. How do you think it went?
I think it was amazing. What do you think? This is your show.
I thought, Listra, you did great.
Thank you.
The ratings are going to go through the roof.
Oh my God. And you know what? I'm telling everybody.
You're doing very well.
I'm going to be famous. Oh
we just have to make sure that, I don't know.
Can I deal with celebrity? That's what you need to make sure of. And that I don't go crazy.
We need to make sure the ending is a thing audiences will like. Listra.
Wow.
Yes.
So much pressure, Benson. Okay, this is your show. You go ahead. Say something fabulous. I would say it was amazing to be here. It was fantastic. I found out so much about you and myself.
Yeah. But most importantly, it was fun.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was fun.
All right, cool. And you would be open to if time and availability permits, perhaps returning?
Sure.
All right.
As long as you have me, I'll be here.
Cool.
Nice. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.